Welcome to the 2-Minute Timeout podcast, where you take time out of your day to turn on this college football podcast. And I'm truly grateful for it. Guys, 2025 is over, and about 13 hours is the time that I'm making this. The ball drops in 13 hours here on the East Coast. And that means the transfer portal opens in less than 48 hours. It opens on January 2nd. We're going to talk about just transfer quarterbacks. Superstars, some guys that have not entered the transfer portal yet but could. We got G5 school transfers, backups, and then we got a couple of guys that they need to find a Power 4 school that doesn't have good defenses, which is the ACC or Big 12. So QBs that need to go to the Big 12 or ACC, play in conference with bad defenses. We're going to start with the superstars. First off, this is probably the most highly talented quarterback. I think he's better than Brandon Sorsby out of Cincinnati. He's number 2. I think number 1, Sam Levitt out of Arizona State. He's transferring. A lot of people think he's going to join Lane Kiffin and go to LSU. Kiffin's going to need a quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier's not it, and he's also leaving. Michael Van Burden, we saw him. He was trash in the 5 games that he started. And everybody's thinking, oh, he's just like a Jackson Dart, Trinidad Chambliss. He can run. He can throw. He's not afraid to take the hits. But I don't think he's going to go to LSU. Here's the reason why. He's out on the West Coast. I think he stays in the West Coast. LSU loves their... Well, Lane Kiffin loved Trinidad Chambliss from Ole Miss. Now, I'm going to talk about Trinidad Chambliss later. He does need a waiver to play another year. He didn't play 1 year. It was a medical redshirt year in D2, so he's trying to advocate that since he didn't play, he should get another year. Don't know if that'll go through. He's still in the college football playoff right now, so if he does go to the Natty or something and pop off, he might just enter the draft and not submit his waiver. He has not submitted a waiver yet, so I don't know. So if Chambliss does not submit a waiver, I think Sam Levitt does go to LSU, but I think he's going to go to Oregon. Oregon, their backup has already said he's transferring. And then Dante Moore, top 3 quarterback heading into this draft. Him and Mendoza are definitely 1 and 2. I think he's the best quarterback going into this draft. I know Mendoza beat him head-to-head in Eugene earlier this year. But I think he's got that it factor. He had to go on the road against Penn State, game-winning drive. On the road against Iowa, game-winning drive. Those are just a few. He had to play tough USC team. I know he had a couple of weaker scheduled games. We haven't seen him in the playoffs yet. We saw him against JMU, but that's a freebie game. We're going to see him against one of the best defensive lines in the nation tomorrow against Texas Tech, which I have them winning. I have Oregon winning the national championship. I think Sam Levitt goes to Oregon. He could get his NIL. He could get the best NIL deal because of Nike. Because Nike's funding Oregon. Nike's owner, founder is from Oregon, an Oregon alum. Also, Oregon is so underrated at quarterback. Everybody talks about Alabama, LSU, Clemson a little bit, Ohio State. Some of those guys aren't good. Look at Tua. He's trash from Alabama. Justin Fields, trash from Ohio State. He's like the only Ohio State quarterback. And we're not counting Joe Burrow. Dillon Gabriel, who started for the Browns until he got concussion protocol and replaced by Shedeur Sanders. I don't really think he's an NFL quarterback, but he's in the league right now. Justin Herbert in the playoffs for the 3rd time of his career, back-to-back years. Marcus Mariota, a very suitable backup. He had a couple of good years out of college. Won the Heisman also. Justin Herbert, I believe, was a Heisman finalist. I know Dillon Gabriel was, and so was Bo. I don't think Bo Nix was. He might have. But Bo Nix also in the playoffs in his first 2 years. This is freaking quarterback you, in my opinion. Look at those 4 guys right there. Mariota had a stint where he was the starter for the Titans, a little bit for the Commanders, of course, this year since Jaden Daniels got injured. But you've got 2 very good, solid quarterbacks that came out of Oregon that are starting, and Justin Herbert and Bo Nix. Then you got suitable backups. If you want to make a living out of the NFL, you're going to have to be good. And even if you're not a good starter, you're a suitable backup. I think Dante Moore is the best quarterback, like I said, coming out of this draft, into this draft. And I think he's going to show out, and I think he might go to the Cleveland Browns or something. I'm going to do a mock draft, the NFL mock draft, when it gets closer to that. I think Sam Levitt, if he wants to have his best chance of going and succeeding, I don't think it's the jump to SEC. Because LSU's schedule is really hard. If you want to show out for the scouts, go to... Now, I think the Big Ten's the best conference. I mean, they've won back-to-back national champions. Because I'm a Penn State fan, I support the Big Ten. But it's not night in, night out the same competition as LSU and the SEC. And LSU's got a top 10, top 5 schedule next year. I think he's got to go to a place where he plays good competition, but not every single week that'll tank his draft stock. Show up, show out, be a Heisman finalist next year, be a top 5 pick. I think that's his best case of doing that. And getting a bag also is going to Oregon. Dan Lanning's such a great coach. I think that he does go to Oregon just because Trinidad Chambliss does go to LSU. Now, if Sam Levitt goes to LSU, basically all this is, most of these picks that I have, most of these players that I have going, they might not end up because the pieces are going to move around. But that's just me. Excuse me. Now, I'm not going to order best to worst quarterbacks in the transfer portal, but number 2 quarterback in the transfer portal is Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati. Everybody's just saying he's going to Texas Tech. There's nothing really to talk about. He does the offensive line coach at Texas Tech was Sorsby's offensive coordinator in high school, so he does have connections there. Everybody's just saying he's going to Texas Tech. Who else is Texas Tech going to go for? Maybe Sam Levitt. I don't think Sam Levitt's going to go to the Big 12. He wants to make a jump. Maybe you want to go to Dylan Raiola for the memes and stuff, but I don't think he's going to do that good. If I'm Dylan Raiola, I would go to Texas Tech. Not because of the Patrick Mahomes memes, but Dylan Raiola, I'm going to talk about him. He needs to go somewhere with a good offensive line, but I have a different place where I think he'll strive. Excuse me. And Texas Tech's got all this money. Brendan Sorsby needs to show out his best way, and he's got to do that. And he struggled against Big Ten competition his first 2 years at Indiana. Struggled pretty decently last year. Like, he just popped off this year. I don't think he can make the jump to the Big Ten or the SEC. I think he's got to stay in the Big 12, get his bag, and show up and show that he can be a suitable starter, suitable backup in the NFL. And I think his best chance is going to Texas Tech, and he's got connections there. Talking about a young guy now, DJ Lagway from Florida, Sunbelt Billy Napier. He left. He left because he got fired. But here's the thing. I have him going to Clemson. Want to know why? Clemson, Dabo Swinney, I feel like these next 2 years, if he doesn't have a 9-10 win season and is competing for the ACC championship, and probably both of these next 2 years, it's over. And they don't have a suitable backup. They need a guy who will go there and win ball games for the next 2 years. DJ Lagway is the best 2-year quarterback out there because he's just a sophomore. He saved Billy Napier's job last season. What were they? 4-5, they put him in it, and they finished on a 4-game win streak, including a bowl win. I know it didn't turn out the same this year, and he had a lot of struggles, but he needs to go somewhere that doesn't have as much pressure. I know Clemson has pressure, but he needs to go somewhere that doesn't have as much pressure as Florida for the outcome. Like Florida, who are the good quarterbacks from Florida? Anthony Richardson's a bust. Tim Tebow is a bust. There's not really good quarterbacks that come out of LSU, or Florida, excuse me. And if you want to go somewhere that has quarterback talent, like Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, you go to Clemson. There's not going to be as much pressure. There is still going to be pressure because you are in one of the best, in the 2010s, a top 3 program in the college football landscape in LSU. But they're falling off a little bit. You already saved Billy Napier's career at Florida for an extra year. Dabo's going to need a guy who can save his career and trust that he can save his career for the next 2 seasons. Lagway's got 2 years of eligibility left. I think they go out there and they get DJ Lagway. Lagway needs to get out of the spotlight a little bit. I don't think him getting pushed into the spotlight that early at Florida was a good thing. He had decent wins, like a win against Texas. He competed in the year before that, Ole Miss win. Like, he competed against good teams. Just the pieces weren't around there. The staff wasn't good around there. It just wasn't a right thing. Now, I don't think he's going to go this low, but many people say that he's going to Baylor. Going back home, his dad went there to Baylor. He's got so many connections. He's a 5-star. I know what they did with Sawyer Robertson was good at Baylor. I think that he's got to go to a place as a 5-star with 2 years left. You can't be bouncing around schools. You can't go to Baylor for 1 year, then bounce again. I think he's got to go to a school that can get him ready for the NFL, but is not as much pressure for not a good outcome like Florida. That's why I think Clemson is a perfect spot. Dylan Raiola, Nebraska quarterback. Hitting the transfer portal, went to Nebraska, and this was a little fishy because his brother decommitted like 3 weeks before he said he was hitting the transfer portal. He went with Matt Rule. I think they were going to do good. They did fall off a cliff a little bit, but that's because Raiola got injured. I think Raiola needed one more year. Freshman year was okay, but that's the first year Matt Rule was there. He started as a true freshman, had some good wins. Didn't really have the top 10, top 25 wins that they needed this year. But I think next year, if he would have stayed, they would have gotten the right pieces. The defense was looking better. But he decides to leave, and I think he's got to go back home. I said he needs to go to a place with a good O-line. A lot of people agree. He goes back to his home, not his home state, but towards his home state. He goes to Florida, the state below where he's from, Georgia. Goes to Miami with one of the best O-lines in the nation. Cristobal can revive quarterbacks' careers. He got Cameron Ward, got him to be the number 1 overall draft pick. Carson Beck's going to look like a draft pick, especially if he does good against Ohio State. I know that he struggled with the turnovers. I think Carson Beck's still going to get drafted later rounds. If you're Raiola, you still have 2 years of eligibility. You show out for those next 2 years in the ACC, this trash ACC. Show that you got a big arm and take care of the football. You're going to be a day 2, early day 3 pick. Cristobal loves guys with big arms that can take care of the football. Carson Beck does have a big arm. He's had struggles with taking care of the football, but when he does take care of the football, they beat the Notre Dames. They beat the Texas A&Ms. They're going to compete with Ohio State, I think, for at least the first 3 quarters or the first half tonight in the New Year's Eve Bowl. So I think Raiola goes to Miami. Josh Hoover, another highly touted kid. This just looks like Indiana written all over it. I can't really put my tongue on it. Why? It's just like when you envision a kid in an Indiana uniform, look at Fernando Mendoza. Look at who was the guy before that transferred from Ohio? Kirk Ruckus or whatever. They look as similar as Josh Hoover. Big arm, can take care of the football, win football games. And Kirk Cignetti, this will be the 3rd straight year it's looking like, unless they don't go for somebody and they trust Mendoza's his little brother as a redshirt freshman or sophomore to take over the realms of a top 10 team next year. I think they go out for the 3rd straight year, get a transfer portal guy, and let Mendoza's little brother sit again, and then they give him the keys after that. Josh Hoover needs to go to a place that'll let him aerate the ball down. They got some of the most underrated running backs and tight end at Indiana. They're the number 1 team in the nation. You want to go compete for a guy who can revive your career after you've done very well at TCU, just the wins, losses haven't showed up? Indiana's the place. There's going to be pressure, but you want to compete with that pressure. And when you do good, you're going to be the face of the freaking you're going to be the face of the campus. You're going to be the face of college football. Look at Mendoza. You want to go to a place that just won a Heisman as a quarterback? That's Josh Hoover, coming from a lesser Power 5 conference like the Big 12 to the Big 10, making the jump like Mendoza did from the ACC to the Big 10. This is a more flashier transfer than the last 2 quarterbacks, but I think it'll suit out. He fits perfectly in Kirk Cignetti's offense. The deep ball and the ability to keep the ball safe. He's a Texas kid, not really any, like, if he was leaving TCU, he was going to go to a Big 10 or SEC school. He's not going to go to Baylor. SMU doesn't need a quarterback. Texas definitely doesn't need a quarterback. I think Texas Tech goes for Sorsby, but I could see him maybe going to Texas Tech, but I don't see Sorsby going back to Indiana because he started his first 2 years in college in Indiana, so I don't think the puzzle pieces lines up, so he goes to Indiana. Drew Mestemaker from North Texas, one of the best. I think he's the 3rd or 4th best transfer coming in just overall, not even in quarterbacks, just overall. I'm sorry, the kid didn't even play quarterback in high school. Like, it's cool what he did and what his head coach did, but his head coach is heading to Oklahoma State. He's still got 3 years. What I think he does is shows that he can prove that he can win at a Power 4 school like Oklahoma State. They went 1-10. You don't have to go undefeated at Oklahoma State. If you have a 7-8 win season and show that you have about the same progression as North Texas, like, he's bombing. Like, he's throwing a lot of deep balls, but that's against Charlotte, FAU. It's not as good competition. Me jumping from the American Conference while not even starting a single game at high school as a quarterback to SEC is just trouble. If I'm Tennessee, I've heard that Tennessee wants him. Maybe Arkansas, Florida. If I'm one of those schools, why am I going to trust a guy who went and competed and struggled sometimes against lesser competition and not even starting 2 years ago in his high school team? I can't. I think Mestemaker needs to go. This is if I'm Mestemaker. I'm taking another year to prove that I can actually compete in Power 4 level. Go to Oklahoma State for a year, then transfer to a better SEC school like Florida or somebody that needs a quarterback for the next 2 years of your college career or next year. Because if he does good in the Big 12 next year in Oklahoma State, like I said, a 7-8, even a 9-win season, on par with the season that you're having this year, you're going to go to one of the best SEC schools there is, and you're going to bomb out, and I think he could leave after his junior year. Byron Brown from South Florida. This has Auburn written all over him. Deuce Knight, the 5-star. He hit the transfer portal. He knows that Byron Brown's going there. He's going to follow his last year's head coach, Alec Goldish. They were in the playoff spot. They beat Florida on the road. They beat Boise State. I know those two teams aren't like that good in the realm of thing looking back at it, but they're still good teams. They were still ranked teams when you played them and you beat them. Why would you go somewhere else when you already know the scheme from Goldish and you can go compete in the best conference there is in the SEC? Excuse me. Rocco Beck from Iowa State. Everybody's like, this is Penn State written all over. I think he's loyal to Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell went to Penn State. As a Penn State fan, I love Rocco Beck and what he does, but you got to look at it from this year. Yes, our schedule is really easy, but you got to look at it the year after. Campbell can recruit his ass off this upcoming year, and the 2027 year is going to be insane. I think you got to keep the best piece. And with Terry Smith staying there, you got to keep Ethan Grunkemeyer, your backup who replaced Drew Allen. First start, went at Iowa, lost by a point, an Iowa team that's ranked. Second start, went to Ohio State. He was tied at halftime to Ohio State on the road. Had the most points in a first half against an Ohio State team this whole season. Third start, lost by a point to Indiana, the number 1 team in the nation. Why would you, and then we finished on a 4-game win streak. Why would you go for Rocco Beck? Yes, he's proven, but you only have him for 1 year. Then you don't have a quarterback coming in unless you're going to try to magically find another quarterback. I think you got to do Ethan Grunkemeyer, and he's got 2 to 3 years left of eligibility. He's a redshirt freshman this year. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore next year. He's got 2 years. He's got 3 years maximum because of the redshirt year, but he's got 1 or 2 more years. I think he stays for 2 more years, and that's why I don't think Rocco Beck goes to Penn State. And Matt Campbell recruited Ethan Grunkemeyer, who's seen what Grunk's done. I think if he's a smart guy, he's got to do what's the best for the program. He stays with Ethan Grunkemeyer, and Rocco Beck goes back home. He goes to Florida. He's a Florida kid. Florida needs a quarterback. John Summerall, he's like a Jake Retzlaff. He can throw it with the big arm, but he's rough and tough, and he's not afraid. He loves to step up and run. He's just like a Jake Retzlaff, which Summerall coached at Tulane. This looks like Florida written all over it. Now, these guys haven't entered the transfer portal yet, but I think they could. Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss. Like we said, Lane Kiffin left for LSU. I think he goes to LSU. Like I said, he needs to submit a waiver. He hasn't submitted the waiver yet. I think he goes to Kiffin with Lane Kiffin and follows his offensive coordinator. He seems loyal at Ole Miss, but if you're getting 1 more year, I don't think Ole Miss is going to be that good next year. You're a D2 kid. This can't look like a fluke year. You got to follow up that you actually can compete at the best level. You got to get out of Ole Miss while you can. Austin Simmons is the backup. He was supposed to be the guy this year, then got injured, and they stick with Chambliss, and that was working well because they're in the playoffs. They're in the national quarterfinals. They're the number 6 team in the nation. I think Ole Miss makes Chambliss leave, and they give the keys to Austin Simmons, who's going to stay at Ole Miss. C.J. Bailey from NC State. He's a true sophomore. He's going to be a true junior next year. Started as a true freshman. 2 mid-years. They were ranked last year. Almost lost to Western Carolina week 1. That was really, they were supposed to be a dark horse in the ACC. Turned out to be a 6-6 season. Actually, they lost in the bowl game to be 6-7. Finished this season either 7 or 8 wins. They finished 6-6 or 7-5 in the regular season. Really, only memorable thing is they beat Georgia Tech, who was undefeated at home. He's shown potential in the running game, so when he takes care of the ball, he's a super underrated quarterback. He's not the big name. He's not the big name quarterback. Big name teams like Tennessee, the good SEC Big Ten schools are not going to want him. UCF, I think he goes to UCF. He's a Florida kid. He was teammates with Jeremiah Smith, so he's shown potential. If I'm UCF, I'm going for him. UCF's head coach called out for more donations. I think they're going to be a really good team. He heads back home. If he does enter the transfer portal, he goes to UCF. UCF lost Traven Jackson, their starting quarterback this year. They haven't really had much success at the quarterback positions. I think C.J. Bailey gives them stability for the next 2 years. This year might be the same as NC State, a mid-year 5-7, 6-6, maybe a 7-win season. But I think the next year, the 2027 years, when they explode. I mean, why would he stay at NC State? Lost Casey Concepcion to Texas A&M this past year, and now he's losing his top 2 wide receivers in the portal. I think he just can't stay there. These are quarterbacks, like I said, that need to do better at a ACC or Big 12 school. Playing in conference with not good defenses. Aiden Childs, he popped off his first year at Oregon State and the Pac-12. They were the worst defenses out of all the Power 5 schools. I think it goes to Iowa State. They're bringing in an offensive coordinator who helped John Mateer, Cam Ward. Both of those 2 guys have the same build as Aiden Childs. They can throw it, not the strongest arm, but they're known for their running. Aiden Childs left with this head coach who got fired at Michigan State this past season. 2 years ago, he left for Michigan State. This offseason, they fired their head coach. So Aiden Childs hits the portal. He did get benched actually halfway through the season. Some say it was because of injuries. He showed potential at Oregon State, struggled against top-tier defense in the Big Ten, didn't make a bowl game at Michigan State. It is a transfer to somewhere that doesn't have a good defense, like the ACC or Big 12, doesn't have a starting quarterback. Iowa State lost their starting quarterback. Backup's going to hit the transfer portal. They don't have any recruits coming in, really, except for like a 2-star. I think this has Aiden Childs written all over it. He goes south, 2 states south to Iowa State, and shows out for his last year of eligibility. Like I said, their offensive coordinator from Washington State developed John Mateer and Cam Ward. Jackson Arnold was a 5-star. Started as a freshman, I believe, at Oklahoma. Didn't do good. Only had a good win against Alabama last year. Goes to Auburn. Leads up 3-0. Had a good win at Baylor. Then they struggled. They fizzled out, and he got benched. He went, I think 3-3. Lost at Oklahoma. Lost to Texas A&M at Texas A&M, then lost a heartbreaking game at home and got benched. I think he goes to Baylor. Just like Sawyer Roberts, he looks like a Sawyer Roberts guy. They got good arms, but they want to pass, but they also get the ability to run when they need to. Like, he had a big run at Baylor earlier this year. Baylor seen what he was like when they played him in Waco. I think if you're Baylor, you saw the potential. You've seen him win big games. You saw him beat you first game of the season. I think he's going to be ready out of the gate. Sawyer Robertson leaves. He just looks like a Sawyer Robertson. Can pass it, but also isn't afraid to run. And when you give him open field, he's going to be gone. He can get you a 50, 60-yard run. If he doesn't go to Baylor, I think he goes back to his home state, which Baylor is in his home state. But if he goes back to Texas, he goes to TCU. They need a quarterback. I think he just goes to Baylor. Bo Prabula, Missouri. His former head coach, James Franklin's at Virginia Tech. There's nothing much to say. He's going to Virginia Tech. I've heard people say he's going to Penn State. If Penn State doesn't stay with Ethan Grunkemeyer, they're going for Rocco Beck. Don't know why he would go to Washington State. I've heard he might go to Washington State. Don't not know why he was going there, especially after they lost their head coach. He's going to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, they don't have a quarterback. Kyron Jones is leaving. If they want to start a high 4-star recruit as a freshman, okay, take a roll, but Bo Prabula is right there. He knows your scheme. I know it's not going to be the same offense coordinator as Andy Kotelnicki from Penn State. It's Ty Howell, who's the tight ends coach. He's now the offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech, but he brings a similar thing that Andy Kotelnicki brought, so I think Prabula is going to strive there. These are G5 schools. Anthony Coladrara from UNLV. Nothing much to say. This is FSU written all over it. This is the problem with the transfer portal. 2 weeks ago, he said he's going to stay. Then, like 2 days ago, he said, oh, I'm transferring. That means he got tampered with. Everybody's saying he's going to Florida State. That means Florida State was in his ear. Nobody's really going to have another chance, I think. I think this is just tampering. You can't prove it, but, like, come on. Transfer portals. This is the problem with the transfer portal and the calendar. Yes, they moved it back a little bit, but this is just not. It has FSU written all over it, but this just shows how bad the transfer portal is. He grew up in Florida, so I think he goes back home. He's not good enough to play at Florida or Miami. I think he goes to Florida State. They need a quarterback. Starting their quarterback carousel for the third straight season after Jordan Travis was their last good quarterback. They had DJ Ugalungale. He was trash. Tommy Castellanos started out good, but they ended 6-6, and he didn't do good. Alonzo Barnett, the third, JMU. I think he goes to Virginia. He's like a Chandler Morris. They had an 11-win season. Why don't you follow that back up? You got a good arm, but you love to run. Chandler Morris loves to run. He'll hit his shoulder down, and he's not afraid to take the hit. He doesn't want to slide. Barnett, we saw that at Oregon. First quarter. Stepping up and running. He's leaving it all out on the field. I think he stays close to home. He's a North Carolina kid. Many people speculated that he was going to go to Bob Chesney, but they re-signed Nico Amaliva. So I think he's not going to UCLA. He stays close to home, goes to Virginia. He's like the build of Chandler Morris. Why not follow up after what they did in an 11-win season? Why not follow that up? Colton Joseph from Old Dominion. This one's going to shock you. But it's Stanford. He's a Cali kid. A dual threat quarterback who led Old Dominion to their best season in a long time. 9-3 and a road win at Virginia Tech. I know it was a weak Virginia Tech team, but Virginia Tech on the road night game is still tough to compete at. Proving he can compete with ACC teams. Goes back to California, his home state. Stanford got a $50 million donation from one donor. They're getting other donations. Andrew Luck is their general manager. He's not like most general managers. He's always on the football field. He's always at the games. If you want to learn from one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it in the NFL, not like a GOAT, not a Hall of Famer because he left early, but one of the best in the 2010s, late 2010s, it's Andrew Luck. You want to learn from him. You want to compete. I know they're going to bring in. I know this season wasn't a good season. It was his first season at general manager. They're getting a new head coach because they had an intern head coach last season. They're getting a lot of donations. They're going to bring in the right players. He can compete. Colton Joseph can compete against ACC teams. I think he goes to Stanford. Excuse me. Caden Hauser, ECU, stays close to ECU. He is a Cali kid, but he goes to UNC. He stays close to his former school. Bobby Petrino, offense allows Hauser to air it out and run a little bit. He can run a little bit, but he loves to air it out. Bobby Petrino, he's going to bring in the right guys, the right weapons from Arkansas and other schools. He wants a guy who can air it out. Taylor Green, he did the best that he could, but he's more of a offense coordinator and coach that likes a guy that loves to air it out and throw it and then can run a little bit. And that's why I think Hauser stays close to UNC. These are backups now. Like I said, the former 5-star Deuce Knight from Auburn. He goes to LSU. And you're like, whoa, LSU? Why is he going to go there? Aren't they getting Chambliss or Sam Levitt? I think he pulls a Dante Moore. He wants to start next year. Most 5-stars do. He's going to be a sophomore. I think he redshirts. Well, he is a redshirt. I think he redshirted this year. I think he redshirts. If he hasn't redshirted this year, he'll redshirt next year. And his only start was at against an FCS Mercer team. He showed off his legs. So LSU can put him in for some leg packages, some run packages. Struggling in the first quarter, but you can expect that for your first start. The Jays are going to be out. But he doesn't have much tape. His only tape is against an FCS school. I know he wants to start. He's a 5-star. But I think he pulls a Dante Moore, former 5-star. Leaves this. He goes for a year, learns the system so he can be the best that he can the next 2 years after that. But this guarantees him, like Dante Moore, that you sit a year, but you're going to learn so much from Chambliss or whoever they bring in. And then you're guaranteed the keys the year afterwards. Because if they bring in Sam Levitt or Trinidad Chambliss, they're only going to be there for a year, then they're going to leave. So you got the keys for the next 2 years. Kenny Minchey from Notre Dame battled C.J. Carr. Many people thought he was going to be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame. Lost, but he's going to go to Tennessee. Goes back home. Vanderbilt doesn't need a quarterback there. They're going to have Pavia or the 5-star starting. He goes back to Tennessee. I don't know if Tennessee's going to stick with Joey Aguilar. And if he gets another year, Joey Aguilar is just like a Diego Pavia. He's still got to submit another year a waiver. And I don't know if he wants to or if he's going to get it granted. Tennessee wants to use the running game more. They tried to do it with Nico. It didn't work real well. But I think Minchey's, he looks like a Nico guy, but a little bit better. I think that he can run and he'll bring the running game that they need. Lincoln, I'm going to botch this last name. He's the Ohio State backup. Lincoln Kindhose. He battled Sayin hand in hand. Many people, just like Minchey, thought he was going to be the starting quarterback to beat out Julian Sayin. In my opinion, he's the best backup in the nation, and most people can agree. This is going to shock you. He's a South Dakota kid, so he's not going to go back to his hometown. I think he goes back out west, though, goes to Arizona State. He's got 2 years of eligibility. I think he gets his feet under him. I don't really know where he's going to go. This is a type of thing where it's just out of the blue. I don't know where he's going to go. This is just my personal opinion. Gets his feet under him. Kenny Dillingham called out for a big donation. I think he's going to get the right pieces around him, get an offensive line, so he can get his feet under him. He has 2 years left of eligibility. Get his feet under him, and then if he likes Arizona State, he can stay, or he can transfer like Sam Levitt and go somewhere out west. Again, that's going to need a quarterback like USC in 2027 is going to need a quarterback. UCLA is going to need a quarterback in 2027. Probably same with Oregon, because Oregon's losing their backup. We're going to talk about him next. So he can go to Arizona State, show that he can do something for a year, and then move to the Big Ten team out west. Austin Novstad from Oregon. This is the backup. This is why I think Sam Levitt's going to go, because Austin knows something. Either they're going to get a transfer like they've had for the past multiple years besides Dante Moore. Under Dan Lanning, they've got Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, and Dante Moore as transfer quarterbacks. I think Austin knows that he's going to get replaced by either Dante Moore's going to return, which I don't think he does, or he's going to get replaced by transfer. I think he follows his offensive coordinator to Kentucky and Will Klein. He loves Will Klein. They have a really good connection. I think if you're Will Klein, you need to have one of the best backups in the nation that you know and trust. He was one of the best backups in the nation. I think he can start as a sophomore in the SEC. I think he goes to Kentucky. Eli Holstein, I think he stays up north. Got replaced by Mason Heinschel, the freshman at Pitt. Struggled. Lost to West Virginia and lost to Louisville to start off the season. Started out 3-2. Got replaced by Heinschel, and they finished 8-5. I think he stays up north. I think he links up with offensive-minded Bill O'Brien at Boston College. If he wants to revive his career at all, he needs to stay in the ACC. No Big Ten team's going to want him. He transferred from Alabama to Pitt. They did pretty good when he started last season. They had an 8-win season again. Boston College is losing their starting quarterback. Bill O'Brien needs the guy. They're not going to get like a big-name guy, but I think this guy can save Bill O'Brien's career, because I think this could be last year at Bill O'Brien's at Boston College if he doesn't do good. Ashton Daniels from Auburn. This is his last year. I don't think he could start at the Power 4. Yes, he didn't get a win when he started, but he did go on the road to Vanderbilt, led that and put that game into overtime. They were down by 3 to Alabama in the Iron Bowl. But those are two coincidences. It's the Iron Bowl. Anything can happen in Jordan Hare. We've seen it with the kick six. That's just how it goes with Alabama and Auburn at Auburn. So I don't think he's that good. Maybe he goes to a ACC or Big 12 school. I think he goes to USF in South Florida. They brought in the offensive-minded Brian Hartlaw. He's going to give him the best wide receivers to try to revive his career. And he'll be a later round pick, but he'll be one of the best G5 quarterbacks there are. He's a veteran-minded guy. If you bring in younger or more veteran 4-stars that didn't show out, and Brian Hartlaw can revive their careers, I think Ashton Daniels is going to be a big reason why he revives wide receivers' careers next season. I think USF can compete for a college football playoff spot if G5 still gets an automatic bid. And I think he goes to USF. Trayvon Jackson, he left his hometown from Indiana, went down south. So there's not really a pattern that he's following, like where he's going to go to next. He went to USF, and he did all right there. They didn't go to a bowl game. He's hitting the transfer portal. He's got one more year. He seems like a Robbie Ashford guy. Ashford played and started 10 of the 12 games for Wake Forest. He was injured for 2 of them, and they went 8-4 this year. I think he goes to Wake Forest, just has some fun, balls out, and I think that Wake Forest again could have a 7, 8, maybe 9 win season if they win their bowl game like they do this year. I don't really know where he goes. There's not really a pattern, but I think he just goes and just balls out and have some fun. I think he stays in the black and gold, and he goes to Wake Forest. Those are my transfers for quarterbacks. Happy New Year's, guys. I don't know if I'm going to make the best transfers because by the time I have this out, January 2nd will be the next time I'll be able to make a podcast, and that's when the transfer portal opens, and I think most of the guys are already going to be committed by the time I have a chance to make the next podcast. But if I do make a next podcast, it'll be on the transfer portal, the best available wide receivers, not non-quarterback, the best players that are non-quarterbacks. Cam Coleman just entered the portal. He's the new number 1 overall target. The wide receiver from Auburn, they got some speculation there. Some guys leaving Penn State. I'll just talk about that. That will be maybe my next podcast. If not that, I'm going to preview the national championship. So stay tuned. Thank you for your time.